Chapter 5464. It's ready to cool. It's best if you can eat it right away. No need to wait. He's been very busy lately and doesn't have much time for breakfast. Lu Shuang seemed to understand something. She smiled and turned to leave. Wait, tell them to prepare some supper and keep it warm in the pot. He's been coming home late lately. Okay, second young mistress. Lu Shuang ran out quickly. Tang Gua tapped her fingers on the table lightly. Suddenly, a thought flashed through her mind. She called out to Lu Wu, who was beside her, "Go find a ruler." Lu Wu didn't quite understand, but she quickly went to find one. Because they usually had to make clothes, a ruler was a common tool. She quickly brought it over. She was very curious. The second young mistress usually didn't make these things, even though she had learned at the family Tang a long time ago. But after they got married, she never saw the second young mistress touch it. To tell the truth, ever since she married into the Cheng family, she realized that the second young mistress did nothing but eat, drink, play, and sleep. Tang Gua held the ruler and didn't do anything else. Cheng Zixiao only hurried back when the sky was dark. Lu Shuang saw him and quickly ran after him. "Second young master, have you eaten?" "I haven't had the time." Cheng Zixiao didn't understand why Lu Shuang suddenly asked. Recently, he was indeed a little busy. Usually he could eat one meal a day. The rest of the time he just ate some snacks. In just a few days, he had lost a lot of weight. Second young mistress knows that you've been busy recently, so she specifically asked the kitchen to keep supper for you. It's still warm in the pot. Wash it first and I'll bring it over. Cheng Zixiao's hand froze as he took off his jacket. She prepared supper for him? Second young mistress must have noticed that you've lost a lot of weight recently and thought that you haven't been eating well. That's why she thought of this. Lu Shuang finished speaking and quickly ran to the kitchen. When Lu Shuang came back with the food, Cheng Zixiao was already sitting at the round table. He watched as she brought out the dishes and porridge. Sure enough, it was steaming hot. He ate a mouthful of porridge. The temperature was just right. He didn't have to wait. He didn't feel it before, but now that he had a mouthful of porridge, he felt hungry. "Where's second young mistress?" Cheng Zixiao looked inside, but he could not see the situation in the room, nor did he have any intention of getting up to take a look. She was usually able to sleep, so she was probably already asleep by now. "Second young mistress has already gone to bed." Lu Shuang said, "He just wanted me to tell you that you must eat well. Your body is your own. If something were to happen one day, then you would lose more than you gain. If you don't have a good body, you can't do anything." Cheng Zixiao ate the side dishes and listened to these words. He only felt that these words touched his heart. To be honest, ever since he was young, he had never experienced being cared for so much. Someone had actually noticed that he had lost weight and that he was not eating properly. They had even prepared supper for him. He felt that his eyes were a little warm, but he didn't know why. He had never experienced such a feeling before, so he couldn't describe it. In short, he was looking forward to time stopping at this moment. That night, Cheng Zixiao had the most comfortable sleep in the past few days. Perhaps it was because he was full, but his stomach didn't feel uncomfortable. It was probably that very warm bowl of porridge that warmed his stomach. In the morning, Cheng Zixiao woke up early as usual. When he was about to go out, he realized that breakfast was already laid out on the round table outside. Lu Shuang looked at him and said, "Second young mistress asked someone to prepare it. Second young mistress, eat before you leave. The temperature is just right, so it won't take long. If you don't eat, I'm afraid I won't be able to explain myself." Chapter 5465. Cheng Zifeng sat down and ate the porridge in his bowl. His heart was filled with strange feelings. "There are some snacks here. You can take them with you when you're hungry." Lu Shuang put a small food box on the table. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't ask if it was Tang Gua's order. Other than her, no one else in the Cheng family would be so considerate. It was a wonderful feeling. One day, he could actually receive such treatment. After breakfast, Tang Gua woke up and saw Cheng Zixiao. Cheng Zixiao raised his head and looked at her. "Thank you. I just don't want to be known as a widow at such a young age." Cheng Zixiao didn't think it was unpleasant. Instead, he laughed. "Let Lu Shuang bring you food? I'll eat later. Cheng Zixiao stood up and was about to leave. Then I'll leave first. I still have a lot of things to do. I can't delay. Wait. Tang Guo turned around. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't leave immediately. When she came out, she held a ruler in her hand. It's time to get winter clothes. I'll take your measurements. I'm going to Yun's tailor shop later. I can't be the only one. Cheng Zixiao thought it was a little troublesome. They should have my measurements. You seem to have lost a lot of weight. You can't fit your previous size. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't refuse and let Tang Guo take his measurements. He watched as she wrote down the measurements and said again, "Then I'll leave." You can go. Tang Guo looked at the measurements on the paper and didn't raise her head. She could feel that Cheng Zixiao's mentality had completely changed after just 2 meals and measurements. Hearing Cheng Zixiao's footsteps leave, Tang Guo looked up. This time, Cheng Zixiao didn't leave in a hurry. Instead, he walked slowly and didn't seem to be in a hurry. Do you have anything you want? I'll bring it back tonight. Cheng Zixiao suddenly turned around and saw Tang Guo looking at him. It was too far away. He couldn't see the emotions in her eyes. He could only feel that she was looking at him. He didn't know why, but his heart was beating very fast. We have everything at home. We don't need it for now. Cheng Zixiao was not satisfied with this answer. Then I'll buy it. What should I buy? His footsteps became smarter this time, but his mind was thinking about what to buy. Indeed, she had everything. She had to buy something new that she didn't have. In that instant, he forgot to buy one for Qiao Xueshi. Tang Guo went to Yun's tailor shop and dragged Qiao Xueshi along. Actually, I haven't had the time to wear them yet. There's no need to make so many. Qiao Xueshi refused. The other day, I heard from Yun Qiaolian that there are new patterns and designs. The ones she bought last year are also old. Even if she doesn't wear them, they are still old. I see that you're not in a good mood recently. Why don't you make some clothes to cheer yourself up? Qiao Xueshi couldn't argue with Tang Guo, so she could only follow along. Actually, she was a little repulsed by the Yun's tailor shop. After all, she had suffered a loss here last time. As a result, she was very careful in this regard. Now, all the tailors in Yu City knew that the eldest young mistress of the Cheng family had high standards and couldn't be sloppy. When Tang Guo saw Yun Qiaolian, she took out a piece of paper and handed it to her. Yun Qiaolian saw the size on it and raised her eyebrows slightly. In the end, she laughed strangely. This size, it's a man's, right? Second young masters? Yes, according to this size, make a few winter clothes. The new designs have all been made. Qiao Xueshi also laughed. It seemed that Xiaoguo was slowly accepting Cheng Zixiao. Chapter 5466. What are you going to do, Madam Cheng? Yun Qiaolian didn't have any thoughts about Qiao Xueshi now. Instead, she sympathized with her. After all, they both had bad taste in women before. Qiao Xueshi had gone to school to find Xie Yuan and scolded her. She said that Xie Yuan was pretending to be noble and noble. Now, her status was similar to that of a mistress. She had made the original wives of Yu City proud. At that time, many people didn't care about Qiao Xueshi's status anymore. Every time she went to a party, many people were willing to bring her along. They felt that she was more pleasing to the eye. As for Xie Yuan, her reputation was almost gone because of that incident. Now, she was relying on her talent and a group of brainless supporters to support her. Many people who were affected by the new ideas basically attacked Qiao Xueshi for being rigid, feudal, and stubbornly clinging to a marriage without love. It was like guarding a grave. Qiao Xueshi found that Yun Qiaolian's attitude was much better than the last time they met. She looked at the pictures and chose the ones she liked. She had to admit that Yun Qiaolian's skills were really good. Yun Qiaolian was also very tactful. She didn't mention anything about Cheng Zifeng. This made Qiao Xueshi, who was worried at first, sigh in relief. Now that she went out, she was most afraid that the topic would be about her and Cheng Zifeng. She really didn't want to talk too much about Cheng Zifeng. Just as Xie Yuan said, her relationship with Cheng Zifeng had become a grave. It was gone. Boss, we're not the same as before. If you want to watch a movie, you can go in. Even if we can't watch it, we won't hate you. You can watch it alone. After all, we're not that addicted to movies. Boss, you've worked so hard. What's wrong with watching a movie every day? Yenqing's underlings thought that Yenqing wanted to watch a movie, so they stayed here every day. For some reason, Boss didn't go in again. Yenqing leaned against the wall and looked around. It had been a long time, but the woman who gave him a big gift still hadn't appeared. It was as if the previous incident didn't happen. He didn't even thank her properly for giving him such a big gift. Would she not come in the future? Apart from Qing Zifeng, the Qing family didn't know if the person on the floor had other thoughts. Arrange some people to watch Qing Zixiao for me. Boss, the Qing family has been very obedient recently. They've paid the toll on time. Just do what I told you to do. Don't talk so much nonsense. Yenqing knocked his little brother's head. Hurry up and go. One of the lackeys whispered, Boss isn't going in to watch the movie. Is it because we're here and he's embarrassed? Let's stay further away. Maybe Boss will go in and take a look. You're right. Let's go. Boss should be fine. Yenqing watched as his lackeys sneaked into the alley sneakily, but he didn't pay any attention to them. Not long after, Tanggua and Xiao Xueshi passed by the cinema in a rickshaw. From afar, she saw Yenqing leaning against the wall, looking bored and looking around. You go back first. I have something to do. Xiao Xueshi did not ask any more questions and only agreed. Tanggua had accompanied her for most of the day. After watching Xiao Xueshi leave, Tanggua got off the rickshaw and walked towards the cinema. At this time, Yenqing's voice sounded in her ear, Thank you for the gift last time. Not long after Tanggua went in, he went in and sat down beside her. It's a big favor. I know that I can't repay it even if I say thank you. Chapter 5467. When I get my revenge, my life is yours. Whatever you want to do, I'll do it for you. Tanggua stared at the screen and did not answer. Yenqing scratched his head, wondering if he was too direct, and she was a little anxious because she did not respond. He wanted to say something, but he realized that Tanggua was watching the movie, so he had to shut up. When the movie ended, Tanggua's voice reached his ears. Remember what you said. Yenqing felt that he had come back to life. He quickly replied, I, Yenqing, am a man of my word. Don't interfere with Qing Zixiao's actions. Tanggua came here because the system told her that Yenqing had asked his men to keep an eye on Qing Zixiao. She was afraid that Yenqing would do something to stop Qing Zixiao's plan. Then she would not get the result she wanted. Yenqing looked at Tanggua's back in confusion and felt very uncomfortable. The first thing she told him was not to interfere with Qing Zixiao's actions. Did that guy sleep on the floor become an official? The moment Yenqing stepped out of the cinema, he was surrounded by a few of his lackeys. These ignorant fellows even looked at him with a smile, as if they were saying that their boss loved to watch movies so much and that they should stay far away from him. Boss, you don't look so good. Is the ending of the movie bad? Did I make you upset? Go away. I told you to keep an eye on Qing Zixiao. Did you do it? Yes, I have arranged for someone to do it. He has been a little busy recently. It seems that he wants the power of the Qing family. Yenqing's face turned serious. Really? It's true. We already have people keeping an eye on Qing Zixiao. Boss, have you forgotten? Yenqing. That seemed to be the case. So Qing Zixiao wants to seize power? Yenqing touched his chin. It's so sudden. Is it because of Qing Zifeng? Qing Zifeng has fallen in love with Big Yen recently. One of his men leaned close to Yenqing and whispered, I just found out about it. I don't know how he got infected, but my intuition tells me that it has something to do with Qing Zixiao. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made such a big move. Yenqing, that's interesting. By the way, try to find out if Qing Zixiao is still sleeping on the floor. The lackeys were confused. Did Qing Zixiao sleeping on the floor have anything to do with them? Why was boss's focus always so strange? Don't just stand there. Hurry up and investigate. The lackeys had bitter looks on their faces. This was someone else's house. How could they investigate? If they could find out, wouldn't everyone in the Qing family be able to enter? Boss, this is very difficult. You can't just enter the Qing family's house. There are many private places in their house. It is said that only Qing Zifeng, the second young mistress of the Cheng family, and the second young mistress's two maidservants can enter the house. Forget it. You don't have to care about this. That night, Qing carried a rope with a hook and climbed onto the Cheng family's roof. He crouched down and gently uncovered the tiles. The moment the tiles were removed, he looked inside and saw Cheng Zixiao sleeping on the small bed. Just as he was about to heave a sigh of relief, he felt a gaze on him. He subconsciously looked over and almost lost his consciousness. If it weren't for his strong willpower, he would have rolled down. Tangua had already noticed someone on the roof. When she heard the system say that it was Qing, she didn't say anything and just watched as the tiles were removed. Qing looked at Tangua sitting on the stool with a coat draped over her shoulders. He didn't know what expression to show. Most importantly, he was confident in his skills and didn't cover his face. Tangua held a cup of water and drank it while looking at Qing. Qing couldn't take it anymore. He gave her an apologetic look and quickly put the tiles back. Then he quickly ran away. After running out of the Cheng family, his heart almost jumped out of his chest. It was too terrible. Chapter 5468. Bastard Boss is really a bastard. The Cheng couple still knew that Qing Zifeng was currently infatuated with Big Yen. Especially old Master Cheng, when he found out, a look of despair appeared on his face. Cheng Zixiao saw that he was so angry that he was out of breath, as if he was about to faint at any moment, but his heart did not waver. Cheng Zifeng's current situation really had a lot to do with his parents. If not for the fact that these two doted on Qing Zifeng and gave him the best of everything, Qing Zifeng would not have been able to do anything. In the Cheng family, Qing Zifeng could have anything he wanted. He did not need to give it all, nor did he need to compete with anyone. If there was any trouble, he, Qing Zixiao, would clean up the mess. How could Qing Zifeng, who grew up in such an environment, resist all kinds of temptations outside? If Qing Zifeng treated Xueshi well, he definitely would not have pushed him lightly in this matter. It was Qing Zifeng who sealed all his paths. Therefore, he really could not be blamed. Since he was young, he had tolerated Qing Zifeng so much, but he did not mind. What he minded the most was that he had worked so hard to help them, but the other party did not cherish it and turned around to abandon the person he cherished the most. He could not tolerate it anymore. Qing Zifeng told him that only with power could he control his own fate and protect the person he loved. "Where is boss?" Old Master Qing asked angrily. "Take me to see him." This time, Qing Zixiao did not speak quickly. When Old Master Qing was furious, he asked the butler to check. In fact, his men had already received the signal and sent the news to Qing Zifeng. Qing Zifeng still had money in his hands, so it was not a problem for him to play for a while longer. When the money was almost spent, he would be almost crippled. Not long after, Old Master Qing brought the whole family to the small courtyard where Qing Zifeng lived. Including Tangua, she also followed. It was obvious that Old Master Qing was really angry at this moment. He planned to bring Qing Zifeng back today. However, he was one step too late. Qing Zifeng, who had received the news, had already slipped away, not giving Old Master Qing a chance to meet him. This time, Old Master Qing was so angry that he fainted on the spot. The family hurriedly brought Old Master Qing home, invited a doctor, and got busy. Old Master Qing was sick, and quite seriously. The moment he woke up, he asked the housekeeper to bring some people to find Qing Zifeng and ask him to bring Qing Zifeng back. The butler moved his lips, wanting to say something, but when he saw that Old Master Qing was about to faint from anger, he didn't say anything in the end and only nodded. As soon as he stepped out of the room, Qing Zixiao followed him out. "Butler, do your best to find Big Brother. Father is really angry this time. You don't have to worry about anything else. No matter what, Big Brother is still the young master of the Qing family. There are many things that require his return." The butler said, "Don't worry, second young master. I will definitely bring eldest young master back." In fact, in the butler's heart, Qing Zifeng was almost useless. First, he had a mistress. Now, he was infatuated with cigarettes. He hadn't returned home for so long and didn't care about anything in the Qing family. Could such a person really bear the burden of the Qing family? It would be better to let second young master manage the Qing family. Unfortunately, the old master was too obsessed with the son of the first wife and didn't care about the second young master's status. In fact, he felt that second young master was more suitable than eldest young master. If the Cheng family wasn't handed over to second young master in the future and fell into eldest young master's hands, it wouldn't last for more than a generation. Mobile version website. Chapter 5469. Have you found eldest young master? Not yet, eldest young mistress. Qiao Shueshi didn't feel much about it now. She didn't even want to come back to see her father when he was seriously ill. She didn't want to miss him. I heard that you'll get addicted to smoking? Yes, eldest young mistress. You can't touch it. Not only will you get addicted, but it will also harm your body. That's why master was so angry and wanted to find eldest young master and force him to quit smoking. Qiao Shueshi frowned. He's hiding from us now. How can we find him? Fortunately, second young master is still in charge of the Cheng family. Otherwise, it would be even worse now that master is ill and no one is in charge of the Cheng family. Qiao Shueshi agreed. Wasn't that right? Who would have thought that the high-spirited and wise man would be like this? She really didn't expect it. Eldest young mistress, don't worry. The housekeeper has already sent people to look for him. They'll probably find him soon and bring him back. Qiao Shueshi didn't reply. She suddenly realized that she didn't want Cheng Zifeng to be found. Since he liked to be outside, then he should stay outside forever and never come back. If he was kidnapped and forced to do something unhappy, he would probably say that they were just a bunch of ordinary people. Even if they imprisoned his body, they couldn't trap his heart and thoughts. The outside world was so beautiful. Wouldn't it be great if Cheng Zifeng stayed outside forever? If he came back, the Cheng family would be in chaos because of him and wouldn't have a peaceful life. Qiao Shueshi was shocked. Why did she have such thoughts? When did she start to not worry about Cheng Zifeng's safety? She even hoped that the current situation would remain and that he would never come back. She could be the eldest young mistress and he, Cheng Zifeng, could be his prodigal son. Why not? Xiaogui said it well. If she was unhappy, she could go to the tailor shop and have some nice clothes made. It would definitely make her feel better. The maid saw that Qiao Shueshi was deep in thought and thought that she was worried about Cheng Zifeng's safety. She didn't say anything and just silently accompanied her while cursing Cheng Zifeng in her heart. Old Master Cheng's illness didn't get better for 10 days to half a month. Cheng Zixiao, on the other hand, was getting busier and busier. Every time, he hurriedly stuffed 2 snacks into his mouth and went out. Perhaps the best thing he ate was the midnight snack that Tangua asked someone to prepare for him. By the time old Master Cheng recovered, it was already 1.5 months later. When he was about to go to the trading company, he was stopped by Cheng Zixiao. Father, you don't have to go to the trading company. If there's anything you're worried about, I can tell you. Second brother, what are you talking about? Father, you've been sick for too long, and the doctor said that you're too old to worry about anything. Now that big brother hasn't returned, I took the initiative to take over everything so that you don't have to worry. Now you and mother can retire at home in peace. If you have nothing to do, you can drink tea and walk around. This time, old Master Cheng understood. Second brother, you're a bastard too? Do you still think of me as your father? Of course you're my father. If you hadn't trained me since I was young and let me be at the front of everything, then big brother wouldn't have picked all the fruits. I wouldn't have had so many opportunities, and big brother wouldn't have been raised by you to be a good-for-nothing. Now, he only knows how to have romantic nights and smoke. Father, this is all because of you. Fortunately, you did this. Otherwise, both of your sons would have been crippled. In such a big Cheng family, I'm afraid that no one will care about them. Chapter 5470. Old Master Cheng fell ill from anger again. This time, the doctor specified that he should rest in bed for half a month and not get angry again. In front of others, Cheng Zixiao was a filial son. He was always thinking of old Master Cheng and worried about his illness. No one could find fault with him. Old Master Cheng looked at how well Cheng Zixiao was taking care of everything. Even the butler admired Cheng Zixiao. His eyes finally dimmed. He wanted to tell Madame Cheng about Cheng Zixiao's words, But he didn't expect that Madame Qing didn't have any objections to Qing Zixiao's butler. This surprised him. What made him even more surprised was that Madame Qing said, "Old Master's health hasn't been very good recently. I think we should move into the small temple to pray for blessings for a year." Old Master Qing frowned. He felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure it out. Zifeng has been spoiled by us. Fortunately, we have Zixiao in the family. As long as Zixiao is here, the Qing family won't fall. Old Master, let Zixiao manage the Qing family. Old Master Qing still didn't understand. Even if his wife treated Zixiao well, it wasn't to this extent. She didn't want her biological son to inherit the family business? Could it be that the matter of Zifeng being addicted to cigarettes had made his wife despair? For the time being, he could only think of this. However, he didn't notice that when Madame Qing mentioned Qing Zixiao, her hands were trembling. Her fingers kept pinching the prayer beads, as if a secret had been discovered. Madame Qing left the room and happened to meet Madame Qing at the door. She was shocked to see Qing Zixiao's smiling face. Qing Zixiao said gently, "Mother, I've already arranged for someone to clean the small temple. If you want to pray for Father as a son, I can't stop you. Don't worry, I'll take good care of the Qing family. When Big Brother comes back, I'll definitely urge him to quit those bad things." Madame Qing nodded shakily. "Then I'll leave this family to you. I'll leave Zifeng's matter to you." "Mother, don't worry. I, Qing Zixiao, will definitely do what I promise." A smile hung on Qing Zixiao's lips as he watched Madame Qing leave. He turned and walked into the small courtyard. In fact, he really didn't do anything. He just used a guess to scare Madame Qing. He didn't expect Madame Qing to be fooled by a guess about her death in labor. It seemed that his mother's difficult labor had something to do with her. After knowing that he was in control of the Qing family, she came to beg him, hoping that he would not resent Qing Zifeng. He didn't resent Qing Zifeng in the first place. Qing Zifeng was only digging his own grave for not treating the woman he loved well. As for Madame Qing, he didn't want to kill her now. After all, if things went wrong, not only would his reputation be ruined, but he would also be caught red-handed. He wouldn't be able to survive in Fish City and protect Xueshi. Therefore, he made a deal with Madame Qing. She would always go to the small Buddha hall to recite scriptures for his mother and apologize. However, he had promised to bring Qing Zifeng back and kick his habit of smoking. Did Madame Qing think that Qing Zifeng would be able to return to the past just because he gave up that thing? That was impossible. Qing Zifeng would hate this place even more and wouldn't want to come back. Qing Zifeng was a person who had fallen to his bones. It was impossible for Madame Qing to turn things around in this lifetime. In the short span of 2 months, the power of the Qing family had fallen into Qing Zixiao's hands. This was considered big news in Fish City. Chapter 5471. However, Qing Zixiao was used to doing these things, so it didn't affect him much. It was just that in the Qing family, the servants' attitude towards him was very different. First of all, the food and clothing in his courtyard had greatly improved. Now, the servants respected Tangui even more. "Sister-in-law, although father and mother left the Qing family to me to manage, don't worry. No matter what happens to Big Brother, this will always be your home." Qiao Xueshi didn't feel much about this. As long as she was given a room and some food, she would be fine without so many troubles. "Then I'll have to leave the matter of the butler to Xiaoguo." Qing Zixiao was stunned. That was true. Now that his status was different, the housekeeper's wife had to be his wife. Xiaoguo is not used to doing this. "Sister-in-law, you should do it." Qiao Xueshi quickly shook her head. "This is against the rules. I'll give all the keys and account books to Xiaoguo in a while." Qing Zixiao saw that he couldn't refuse and could only agree. Now that the Qing family was his, he could make all the decisions. When would Xueshi be happy? "Sister-in-law, the butler has news about Big Brother. They might bring him back soon." "Really?" Qiao Xueshi was surprised. Qing Zixiao looked at her nervous expression and felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. Very soon. He just didn't know if she would still be so happy when Qing Zifeng came back. The Qing Zifeng now was not the Qing Zifeng of the past. After saying goodbye to Qiao Xueshi, Qing Zixiao was full of regret. If he hadn't controlled his selfishness on the day of the wedding, would he have missed out on so many things? What should he do next? No matter what, he had to bring Xueshi to his side and watch over her every day. This way, he could protect her and prevent her from being bullied. What should he do? First, he had to let Xueshi and Big Brother divorce. Secondly, he had to end his relationship with Tanghua. It was actually very simple to let Xueshi and Big Brother divorce. Tanghua was the daughter of the family Tang. If there was no reason to divorce, the family Tang would definitely cause trouble. For the past few days, Qing Zixiao had been thinking about this problem every night. In the end, he was certain that he and Tanghua could not continue like this. They had to end it. Furthermore, he had already thought of a solution. This was the only way to get the best of both worlds. Although this method was not good for her, he had thought of a way out for her. After the matter was over, he would arrange for people to send her far away. The amount of money he gave her was enough to guarantee her happiness for the rest of her life. In any case, if that family Tang really cared about her, they wouldn't have agreed not to pursue the matter after giving the wrong bridal chamber to the Chung family. After all, there were no feelings between them. It was right for them to break up. Recently, Tanghua felt that Qing Zixiao would bring her a lot of interesting things when he came home every day. Some of them were very exquisite and expensive, and some of them were very cheap, but they were very interesting. She guessed that Qing Zixiao was planning to do something. A few days later, Qing Zifeng was brought back. When the Cheng family saw him, they could not believe that the thin and pale man in front of them was actually Qing Zifeng. When Qing Zifeng saw Xiao Xueshi, he shouted, "So what if you brought me back? You will never understand me. Even if my body is trapped here, my heart has already flown out. You can't keep me here. You don't think that you can keep me here. You can't keep me here." Qing Zifeng shouted at Xiao Xueshi. "My heart has already been given to Yuan." Xiao Xueshi thought that this person was thinking too much. Chapter 5472. Qing Zifeng was forced to stay in the house. As his wife, Xiao Xueshi would keep an eye on him every day. Ever since Qing Zifeng came back, he made a fuss every day and Xiao Xueshi did not have a good rest. She felt that she was right. Qing Zifeng might as well not come back. When others saw her haggard appearance, they would think that she was worried about Qing Zifeng. In fact, no one knew that in her heart, she actually began to despise, loathe, and even somewhat hate Qing Zifeng. It would be better if he did not come back. If he did not come back, she would be safe. She was no longer the Xiao Xueshi of the past. She had learned to make plans for herself. Qing Zixiao watched from the side and felt a little annoyed. It seemed that he had to start his plan earlier. Only in this way could Xiao Xueshi get rid of Qing Zifeng and he could end this relationship with Tanghua. However, before that he had to make Qing Zifeng quit smoking. Otherwise, the skinny Qing Zifeng would not be able to catch Tanghua's eye. After that, Qing Zifeng suffered a lot. It took about 3 months for him to finally quit smoking. His body slowly recovered and his face became more rosy. At this time, Qing Zifeng was much more clear-headed. However, he hated everything about the Chung family, including Xiao Xueshi. He hated these people who restricted his freedom. As long as he was given a chance, he would definitely get out. "Master, how are you?" Just as Qing Zifeng was thinking about how to leave the Chung family, a little maid suddenly appeared and stunned him. "Who are you?" "Master, I'm second young mistress's maid." Qing Zifeng was confused. "What are you doing here? Are you here to watch a joke?" "No, second young mistress is a little worried about you. She asked me to come and see you. Also, I brought you some food. I don't know if you like it. Second young mistress knows that you are suffering and being restrained here. In fact, she wants to help you, but second young mistress can't help you." The little maid sighed. She was Qing Zixiao's maid and was specially arranged to confuse Qing Zifeng. When the matter was exposed in the future, Qing Zifeng would not deny that Tanghua had feelings for him. "So that's how it is. Seems like she's a good person after all. At least she understands me." Qing Zixiao gritted his teeth. "It's all my fault. If I hadn't done that, there wouldn't be so much trouble. If I meet your second young mistress Hua, maybe we'll get along. Even if we don't get along with her knowledge and wisdom, she'll let me and Yuan be together. Unlike Xueshi, who always wants to tie me down." The young maidservant despised her in her heart, but nodded repeatedly on the surface. Yes, second young mistress is too unlucky. She should have been with eldest young master, but after what second young master did, she will regret it for the rest of her life. Cheng Zifeng seemed to have heard someone talking and also accepted the little maid's food. In the following half a month, the maid came every day to bring him food and messages. Cheng Zifeng regarded Tanggua as his confidant. He regretted it more and more. Why did he have to exchange brides in the first place? If it was Tanggua, he might be doing very well. However, she didn't know that the maid's words were all made up by Cheng Zixiao. He knew Cheng Zifeng too well. "Is there anything you want to do? Or, do you want something very much?" It can also be a wish that you want to fulfill since you were young. The above 3 questions were asked by Cheng Zixiao. Tanggua said, "I've been too busy recently. I'll take some time to go out with you in the next few days and see if there's anything you want." Chapter 5473. Aren't you busy now? I'm not busy anymore. The busy days have passed. At present, everything has been properly allocated. I won't be as busy as before. Cheng Zixiao thought Tanggua was just asking casually, so he explained casually. There was one thing he didn't say. Now that the entire Cheng family was in his hands, it was up to him whether he was busy or not. It was impossible for the Cheng couple to stop him. Ever since Cheng Zifeng quit that thing, Madame Cheng had arranged for someone to check on him after she found out. When she heard the maid say that Cheng Zifeng didn't appreciate it at all and scolded her every day, she couldn't do anything about it. Now, she just hoped that Cheng Zifeng would be fine and not be tainted by bad things. Even if he couldn't inherit the Cheng family, she hoped that Cheng Zixiao would let Cheng Zifeng live well for her current situation. "I heard that you like to go to the cinema. After today, let's go watch a movie." Tanggua didn't object. "The clothes made by Yun's tailor shop are really good. Let's go and have a look later?" "That's good too. The season is about to change, so it's time to prepare for the new season." Tanggua continued, "This time, you can go get your measurements. It seems that there are some changes." When Tanggua mentioned this, Cheng Zixiao remembered that a few months ago, Tanggua had helped him save supper, take his measurements, and order winter clothes. For a moment he didn't know how to say it. He had a very special feeling in his heart that she wasn't wrong. It was a pity that their relationship couldn't be maintained, and their separation wasn't a simple matter. If they broke up like this, not only would the Tang family make trouble for him, but it would also be impossible for him and Xuexi to be together in the future. The only way was that she was the one at fault. The other one at fault was Cheng Zifeng. Then, when he and Xuexi were together in the future, no one would talk about Xuexi. When others talked about them, they would only think that they were people who had fallen from grace. Speaking of which, they were supposed to be husband and wife, but it was a freak combination of factors that led to the wrong bridal chamber. As for the matter of him admitting that he made a mistake in the bridal chamber, not many people knew about it. To outsiders, everyone thought that it was the servants who mixed it up. This was actually easy to handle. As long as he wanted, such public opinion could only be controlled by him. If Tanggua had been a little worse, he would not have been so conflicted and worried about everything. It was only because there was nothing wrong with her that he was so hesitant. But for Xuexi, he had no choice but to do so. The money he gave Tanggua was enough for her to live on for the rest of her life. It wouldn't be too bad. After everything was done, he would arrange for someone to take her away to a place where no one knew her. She would be able to live her life however she wanted. No one would disturb her or laugh at her. Actually, it was better than staying here, wasn't it? After all, their marriage was a mistake. Even if they continued to maintain it, the truth would be exposed to her sooner or later. Rather than that, he might as well send her away. Cheng Zifeng was captured and brought back, and this was the only use he had. On the first day, Cheng Zixiao and Tanggua went to Yun's tailor shop to choose the style and size of the clothes. After about half a day had passed, he went out for a stroll. The next day, Cheng Zixiao took Tanggua to the largest shopping mall in Fish City. On the third day, they went to the cinema. Outside the cinema, Tanggua saw Yanqing. Yanqing stared at her for a moment. When Cheng Zixiao was about to notice, She hurriedly turned her face away. Mobile version website. Chapter 5474. When the two of them went in, he stared at their backs, especially Qing Zixiao. Boss, those people are right. Second young Master Cheng and second young Mistress Cheng have a good relationship. He's just a floor sleeper. Just listen to what they say. How could he not know if Qing Zixiao had become an official or not? Fine, it wasn't sleeping on the floor, but what about sleeping in a crib? Love my s. Speaking of which, the Cheng family had been quiet recently. He heard that Qing Zifeng had quit smoking. He hadn't been released yet, probably because the Cheng couple was worried. He still missed something. This Qing Zixiao was actually willing to help Qing Zifeng quit that thing. Could it be that he still cared about their brotherly relationship? Why didn't he believe it? Boss, aren't you going in to watch? Today's movie attracted second young Master Cheng and second young Mistress Cheng. It must be exciting. No, what's there to watch? He hadn't watched a complete movie before. Every time he was doing something else. If the floor sleeper was there, why would he go in? These two were interesting. They weren't a real couple, but there were rumors about how loving they were. Speaking of which, he was really curious. Did Qing Zixiao know that Tangwa had a deadly person in her hands? Just based on this, he was sure that Tangwa had no feelings for Qing Zixiao. Also, she warned him not to interfere with Qing Zixiao's secret affairs. Actually, she didn't care about Qing Zixiao. She probably wanted to do something, right? Actually, he only understood this after secretly watching last time. Speaking of which, she didn't expose him when he was caught. She didn't have any intention of warning him. She was really interesting. The movie finished playing in Yan Qing's imagination. After it finished, he hid in a corner and stared at the people walking outside. After seeing Tangwa and Qing Zixiao, he turned his face elsewhere. Until the two of them got into a rickshaw and left and disappeared from his sight. Today's movie was a little touching. Did it touch you? Tangwa asked. She didn't know if the movie was touching or not, but she didn't like the plot. A little. It's not easy for two people who like each other to be together. There's too much pressure. Qing Zixiao said. Today's movie really made him feel very immersed. Tangwa smiled faintly. I don't quite understand. She couldn't understand why he would start by hurting everyone even though he knew it was a mistake. She knew that movies from this period should not be viewed in such a light. There were metaphors in this movie. It was using the feelings of the two main characters to express their resistance to their fate. This was a metaphor for the awakening of one's thoughts. It was just that the choice of material was a little off, and it was easy to cause misunderstandings. Moreover, the person who made the movie probably didn't expect that there were people who only saw the surface and didn't really understand his deeper meaning. Perhaps some people understood this, but they would use this to cover up their unethical selfishness and promote the idea of abandoning their old loves, abandoning their legal wives, and abandoning all marriages arranged by their parents. In fact, many people couldn't wait to start a new and advanced love even before ending their marriage. What do you not understand? Tangwa did not expect Qing Zixiao to ask, so she said, I think there's something wrong with the choice of this movie. People will misinterpret the meaning of it. Chapter 5475. Tell me about it. Qing Zixiao's interest was piqued. He didn't see any mistakes in the movie. Do you think there's a problem with Cui Yun or with Zhang Yi? There's a problem with both. Qing Zixiao, what's the problem? They were originally a loving couple. They were also engaged in the beginning. If there's a problem, it should be that Cui Yun made the wrong choice to marry into the Li family. If she didn't choose the Li family, her father wouldn't have the money to look after his leg, and no one would do the work. She still has 2 younger brothers and a younger sister, and no mother. She won't be able to eat next year. Tangwa's words made Qing Zixiao stunned. Yes, if Cui Yun didn't choose to marry into the Li family, their family would starve to death next year. Zhang Yi can't do anything. He's just a farmer, a young man who does rough work. Qing Zixiao said. After he finished speaking, he frowned. But this wasn't an excuse. The movie only seemed to express that Zhang Yi was sad about Cui Yun marrying into the Li family, but it didn't express what Zhang Yi did for her. He was already an adult man, and his strength was comparable to Cui Yun's father. They were engaged, so it was understandable for Zhang Yi to do work to help their family. The only difficult thing was probably Cui Yun's father's leg injury, which required money. Zhang Yi's family had a cow. If he was Zhang Yi and she was Cui Yun, he would definitely sell the cow without hesitation. When needed, he would help people work and rent cows. He wouldn't just watch the person he liked marry into the Li family. Zhang Yi is incompetent. This time, Qing Zixiao gave a different evaluation. This person isn't worthy of Cui Yun. He couldn't do anything, but he caused Cui Yun a lot of trouble. He couldn't bear to part with Cui Yun, but he wasn't willing to make any sacrifices. Later on, Cui Yun took her stupid husband out, and he couldn't control himself. Since then, he and Cui Yun had other relationships. Do you think this is appropriate? Speaking of this, is the Li family really an evil family? It was Cui Yun's family that needed money, so they paid for her to marry into the Li family. From her point of view, she felt that she was at a disadvantage and was unwilling to accept it. Therefore, I feel that the theme of this movie is wrong. It is not suitable to use it to express the spirit of resistance and the progress of new ideas. Qing Zixiao was stunned. Only now did he understand what Tanggua meant. He only saw how difficult the relationship between the male and female protagonists was, but she saw a deeper side. That's right, how could a movie at this time be an ordinary movie that only talked about the relationship between a man and a woman? That's probably because the person who made the movie didn't have a perfect idea and didn't think it through. Qing Zixiao said. He was no longer bothered by the movie. I don't think many people will like such a lousy movie. Tanggua shook her head again. There should be a lot of people who like it. Putting everything else aside, the identities and experiences of the two main characters can easily be substituted into the story. Believe it or not, Fish City will soon have a different concept of marriage. Tanggua lowered her head. It will be more serious than before. Perhaps, there will be fewer people who laugh at Big Brother and Xieyuan. As long as their relationship remains the same, there will be plenty of supporters. Father and mother won't allow Big Brother to go out. He won't be able to see Xieyuan, Qing Zixiao said. This time, Tanggua didn't reply. Do you want to go anywhere else? A few days later, Qing Zixiao asked Tanggua. Chapter 5476. Tanggua shook her head. I've been out for the past few days. I'm tired. Let's rest at home. Is there anything you want? Tanggua shook her head again. Qing Zixiao didn't ask any more questions. He felt a little uncomfortable, but he didn't know why. However, his subordinates told him that everything had been arranged and they were just waiting for him. He knew that he couldn't delay any longer. 3 days later, he put some medicine in Tanggua's tea. Tanggua naturally drank it. On the other side, Qing Zifeng also ate the food with something in it. Next, he used greater teleportation and teleported Tanggua to Qing Zifeng's courtyard. For this day, he had prepared a separate courtyard for Qing Zifeng in case Qiao Xueshi didn't have a good rest. Tanggua and Qing Zifeng were placed on the bed at the same time and covered with a blanket. Second young master, is this okay? Qing Zixiao looked at the two of them side by side. He didn't know why, but he felt a little uncomfortable. But he still waved his hand. Take off Qing Zifeng's clothes. Just leave his underwear. What about second young mistress's underwear? Qing Zixiao's lips moved. Just unbutton 2 buttons. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. System. Dear host, this scum has you in his heart. Oh, it seems that he doesn't like Qiao Xueshi that much. It was love at first sight for Qiao Xueshi. But for dear host, it's unforgettable. The scariest thing is the feelings that come from small details. If you don't notice it at the beginning, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. Qing Zixiao left, looking back repeatedly. After a certain time, a maid would come over. When that time came, this matter would definitely blow up. Qing Zixiao returned to the study after doing all this. He couldn't calm down no matter how hard he tried. In the end, he could only walk around the courtyard. Not long after, Qiao Xueshi came over. I'm here to look for Xiaogua. Is she not here? Qiao Xueshi wasn't surprised to see Qing Zixiao, but she didn't intend to enter the courtyard. She went out. She said she had something to do. I see. Then I'll come over later. Okay, sister-in-law. Cheng Zixiao's heart calmed down a little. Looking at Xiao Xuexi's back, he thought that in a while, he wouldn't have to call Xiao Xuexi sister-in-law. As time passed, Cheng Zixiao's heartbeat accelerated. For some reason, he wanted to go over and take a look. He even wanted to end this plan. But just as he took 2 steps, he remembered that this was the only way he and Xuexi would have a chance, so he resisted the urge to take a step forward. It wasn't until he saw several servant girls rushing over with ugly expressions that his expression changed. Was it a success? Lu Shuang and Lu Wu were sent out by his excuse, so they were not here at this time. Moreover, they could not come back. He had already found someone to control them. On the day Tanguo was sent away, they would follow her. Second young master, bad news, bad news. What is it? Second young master, let's go and take a look. We can't make the decision on this matter. The maidservants trembled. Who knew that they would be so unlucky to encounter such a scandal? The second young mistress was obviously such a proud person. How could she do such a disgraceful thing? Cheng Zixiao clenched his fists and followed. When he opened the door and saw the scene inside, he still habitually looked at Tanguo with a very hurt expression, even though he was the one who arranged all this. So you still can't forget Big Brother in your heart? System, swear. Chapter 5477. Actually, we should be husband and wife. Without waiting for Tanguo to speak, Cheng Zifeng spoke up. He subconsciously thought that Tanguo did this because she wanted to get him. He didn't expect her to be so bold. Unfortunately, the Cheng family was already under Cheng Zixiao's control. Even if this matter was exposed, there was no chance for them. Moreover, he didn't have that kind of feeling for her. The person he liked more was Yuan. Even though they had a lot to talk about during this period of time. Since things have come to this, I have nothing to say. Since you're not willing to marry me, then from today onwards, you should leave the Cheng family. Cheng Zixiao saw that Tanguo didn't say a word and thought that she was scared silly. He just wanted to end this matter as soon as possible. I'll get someone to send you back to the family Tang. The divorce papers will be sent to you later. Xiao Xuexi, who heard the news, also ran over. She couldn't believe the scene in front of her. There was no anger in her eyes, only confusion. She didn't understand why Tanguo would do this. At first, she didn't believe that Tanguo would do this. But when she saw that Cheng Zifeng's clothes were disheveled and he seemed to be very familiar with Tanguo, she fell silent. Sister-in-law, do you want a divorce? Cheng Zixiao suddenly asked. Don't worry, my Cheng family has wronged you. Even if we divorce, my Cheng family will give you a courtyard and compensate you. Xiao Xuexi still couldn't accept the situation in front of her. Moreover, she didn't want to continue with Cheng Zifeng. Now, if she could really divorce, then so be it. I want to divorce. Okay, let's do it together today. Xiao Xuexi suddenly said, Xiaogua, why did you? Tanguo raised her head. It was a pair of very bright eyes. Xiao Xuexi didn't know what to ask. I don't believe it. Were you coerced by Cheng Zifeng? Did he use some underhanded means? I knew that he wasn't a good person. Xiao Xuexi said everything in her heart, shocking everyone. Even Cheng Zifeng couldn't believe that Xiao Xuexi had such a bad impression of him. Before Tanguo could say anything, Cheng Zifeng spoke up. Xiao Xuexi, even if I, Cheng Zifeng, am useless, I would never force someone to do something like that. Who knows? You've already been led astray outside. You can't be pulled back anymore. When Xiao Xuexi saw that Tanguo had no intention of refuting her, she was a little disappointed. He's just a rotten person. What's so good about him? Why do you have to sacrifice yourself? Was Zixiao not good enough? Zixiao is so good to you. You will be happy with Zixiao for the rest of your life. You'll regret ruining your reputation, ruining yourself, and ruining everything for that bastard Cheng Zifeng. You're usually such a sensible person. Why can't you figure this out? Xiao Xuexi, shut up. Don't call me a rotten person. It's obvious that you're the one who can't win my heart, so you're very jealous. Xiaogua is indeed much better than you. At least she understands me. Cheng Zifeng couldn't help but say loudly. When he said that, from Tangua's point of view, even if there were 100 mouths, it would still be difficult for her to prove her innocence. She had to admit that Cheng Zixiao's plan to get someone to pretend that she was the one who arranged for him to communicate with Cheng Zifeng was indeed very clever. Since Cheng Zifeng had already said that, what else could she say? Sister-in-law, you can go back first. I'll take care of things here. Xiao Shueshi looked at Tangua with disappointment. She didn't know what to do. Tangua didn't respond, so she could only leave. Let's go. I've already arranged for someone to send you home. Cheng Zixiao didn't ask any more questions. Perhaps he was a little afraid in his heart. The moment she stepped out of the Chung family's gate, Tangua finally spoke. I don't know what happened either. I don't think anyone will believe me. Since it has already happened, there's no point in explaining. You can go. Chapter 5478. In less than half a day, the scandal of the Chung family's second young mistress and eldest young master spread throughout Yu City. When people discussed this matter, they found it unbelievable but soon felt that it was reasonable. Speaking of which, the Chung family's second young mistress and eldest young master were originally engaged. Because they were sent to the wrong bridal chamber, they lost their fate as husband and wife. The two of them accidentally lit the firewood between them, so it didn't seem strange that it burned. Of course, many people felt that this matter was shameless and immoral. In any case, because of this matter, the Cheng family and the family Tang family lost face. The two elders of the Cheng family were so angry that they couldn't do anything. They didn't even see Cheng Zifeng and only told Cheng Zixiao to do as he saw fit. Cheng Zifeng was such a bastard. He was simply a pile of mud that couldn't support the wall. No matter what they did, it was impossible for him to support the entire Cheng family. When they heard that Cheng Zixiao had already asked someone to send Tangua back to the family Tang, the two elders of the Cheng family didn't say much. Because of this matter, the two of them had aged a lot. They really didn't want to care about anything in the Cheng family. At this moment, Tangua was being criticized by the family Tang family. The people from the family Tang family all came and scolded her. They scolded her for being shameless and didn't give her any chance to explain. The people from the family Tang family didn't give Tangua a chance to speak, nor did they ask her anything. They waited for everyone to vent their anger before they began to discuss how to deal with this matter. First of all, she can't live in the family Tang family. That's right. If she still lives in the family Tang family, what about the other daughters of the family Tang family? If others know about her, won't they laugh at our family Tang family's daughters? It'll be difficult for them to marry in the future. Actually, it wasn't that exaggerated. At this level, the marriage between two families was most likely a match of equal social status and interests. Although they said this, they still despised Tangua. They also felt that she was an abandoned and useless pawn. The family Tang couple only had one daughter. The two of them wanted a son, but they didn't have the fate. Mrs. Tang was almost 40 years old now, but she still wanted a son. She had been taking medicine to nourish her body. Father Tang wanted to marry a concubine, but Mother Tang was more domineering. Father Tang still had to rely on Mother Tang, so he didn't dare to do that. Tangua's mother only cared about herself because she wanted a son. Therefore, she didn't have deep feelings for Tangua. Previously, she had still treated her as a daughter. But now, because of this matter, she despised her and wished she didn't have this daughter. Even if you're not satisfied with second brother Cheng, you shouldn't have done this. You shouldn't have used this method to protest. Now that you've done something so shameful, even if I'm your mother, I can't protect you anymore. In this family, we can't tolerate anyone who doesn't abide by the rules. Father Tang, there's a small courtyard in the north. You can live there in the future. After leaving the family Tang, you have nothing to do with this place anymore. Why don't you ask me if this is true? Father Tang frowned. So many people saw it and you still want to deny it? Since you dared to do such a thing, don't shirk responsibility. The last time you came back, I could tell that you were very resentful because you were sent to the wrong bridal chamber. You want to use this method to take revenge on second brother Cheng and us, right? Just because we didn't do as you wanted? Xiaogua, this is your fault. We're already being very kind to you by letting you live in the north and not letting you live on the streets. Mother Tang said, "You've made such a big mistake and you're still living here. If others don't think that we've forgiven you and that you didn't do anything wrong, then it's our family Tang style that has a problem." Chapter 5479. Tanghua couldn't help but laugh. Does the family Tang have family traditions? Some people only have one daughter on the surface and pretend to dote on their wife, but in reality, they have countless illegitimate children. It would be a joke if word got out that such a Tang family has family traditions. As soon as Tanghua said this, everyone was stunned. Then they realized something and instinctively looked at Father Tang. They realized that when Tanghua said this, she was looking at Father Tang. "Since you won't listen to my explanation and can't tolerate me anymore, then from today onwards, I'm no longer a part of the family Tang." After Tanghua finished speaking, she turned around and left. She didn't care that the people behind her were still immersed in her words. As she turned around, she glanced at Mother Tang's expression. She looked like she was about to break down and couldn't believe it. In the end, her eyes turned fierce. She slowly walked towards the Tang family's main gate. Just as she stepped out of the gate, she heard screams and curses coming from inside. Her expression relaxed. She had gone through all the trouble to come back. Wasn't it just to tell Mother Tang this secret? She didn't want Father Tang to marry a mistress. It was actually very easy for a man to have illegitimate children. He had money and power. There were plenty of women willing to bear his children. There was really no way to control this. Mother Tang was still working hard to nurse her body back to health, but he had 5 illegitimate children on the outside. She didn't dare to bring them back now. When Mother Tang's body couldn't nurse her body back to health, or when she was no longer needed, she could only pinch her nose and accept it. She had given Mother Tang 2 chances. The first time she went back to her parents' home, and the second time today. If Mother Tang had been a little nicer to her, at least listened to her explanation, let her finish her sentence, or helped her investigate the truth, Father Tang would have had to face the consequences. Clearly, the original owner of this body was the eldest daughter of the family Tang. On the surface, it looked like she was living a glorious life, but in reality, only she could understand it. This eldest daughter of the family had never been happy since she was young. Even though she didn't lack for food and clothes, she didn't receive much love from her parents. On the contrary, Father Tang and Mother Tang would often mutter that Mother Tang had hurt her body giving birth to her, which made it difficult for her to conceive. In reality, that wasn't the case at all. It was just that Mrs. Tang's health wasn't very good to begin with. Of course, it would be even worse after she gave birth. After a few miscarriages, her health must have deteriorated. On the day of the original owner's return, she also mentioned that she didn't want to make the best of her mistakes. She also said that she and Qing Zixiao weren't husband and wife at all, so it wasn't too late. However, before she could finish speaking, the family Tang couple rejected her and analyzed the pros and cons for her. Looking at the two of them, the original owner didn't want to tell them that she almost lost her life on the night of her wedding. After this happened, she cried and explained to the two of them that she really didn't do those things and that she was framed. However, no one believed her at all. Everyone said that she was just making excuses, including the couple. They didn't let her live on the streets directly because they cared about their reputation. If the eldest daughter of the family Tang family really lived on the streets and fell into depravity, then something even more shameful happened. The family Tang family would lose face. The original owner was actually a very outstanding girl. After moving out of the family Tang family, she was able to support herself with her own abilities. However, when she found out the truth and planned to take revenge, she was kidnapped by Qing Zixiao and didn't have any chance to make a comeback. If she wasn't smart, she wouldn't have negotiated with the bandits in the end and even been treated as a girl by the bandits. Chapter 5480. Dear host, where are you going now? Don't you want to stay in the family Tang courtyard? Do you have any money on you? I don't have any money. Don't you have some in the system space? You can get 2 small yellow croakers. I won't starve to death. Yes, there's a lot in the system space. You won't starve to death. There's also a lot of food in there. Dear host, do you want to eat? I'm not hungry for the time being. Cheng Zixiao should be arranging for someone to send me away soon. That's all for now. The first person to find Tanguo was Yanqing. He stopped Tanguo at the entrance of a small alley, blocking her way and preventing her from leaving. You told me not to interfere with Cheng Zixiao's affairs, so I didn't. Now that your reputation is gone and you've left the family Tang courtyard, I don't know why you want to cut off all your escape routes. Yanqing really couldn't understand. The current situation was really disadvantageous for her. How could she walk on the streets so leisurely and not panic at all, as if she was shopping? He also noticed that she didn't have a bag with her. She was only wearing a cheongsam and her hands were empty. No, she wasn't empty-handed. At least there was a jade bracelet on her right hand. When Yanqing saw that Tanguo didn't answer and only looked at him, he felt a little nervous. His earlier self-confidence was gone. Why don't you come to my place? You can stay as long as you want. I guarantee that your life won't be worse than when you were the second young mistress of the Cheng family. No one will restrict you. You can do whatever you want. God knows who gave him the courage to say so much to her. However, these were the words in his heart. He had already thought about it. When he brought her back, he would tell his brothers that she was the one who gave them the big things. That way, in the eyes of his brothers, she would always be respected and no one would think that she was a freeloader. He also had to explain that she had nothing to do with the eldest son of the Cheng family and that it was all Cheng Zixiao's doing. She had always been innocent. Even if outsiders didn't believe it, his brothers had to know. He didn't know why she did this, but he felt that she had a certain purpose. She was so capable. Just by hiding so many big things, no man could compare to her. He didn't believe that she had watched everything happen just to put herself in a perilous situation without any other motives. Where is your home? Tanguo asked. Yanqing replied, It's on the mountain. Although it's on the mountain, the environment is not bad. They even built a beautiful courtyard. If you need anything, you can ask someone to go down the mountain to buy it. Tanguo looked down at her shoes. Yanqing also looked down and found that she was wearing a pair of beautiful high heels. I'm afraid the road is not easy to walk on, Tanguo said. Yanqing was a little anxious. It's not that difficult. We usually repair roads. If you think it's difficult, we can fix it in a few days. It can be fixed in a few days? Yanqing wasn't so sure. With such a tall mountain, it would be considered very fast to repair a small section of it in a few days. He felt that it was a little stressful to repair the road to the point where high heels could walk on it. I still have things to do, so I can't go anywhere else for the time being. Yanqing was still thinking about how to fix the road. Hearing Tanguo's words, his gaze fell on her face. What else do you want to do? Do you mean you want to go with me? After everything is done, I do want to go. After all, I'm a weak and homeless woman now. You don't look like a bad person. It's good to go to your house and temporarily stay there. Yanqing, it's fine to stay there forever. Chapter 5481. What else do you need to do? I can help you. Yanqing added, If you don't mind, just tell me. Tanguo, there's something I need your help with. Yanqing was delighted. He looked at her seriously, waiting for her to continue. Soon, a group of people will appear. They plan to send me somewhere far away. Cheng Zixiao's men. Yanqing frowned. He had been monitoring Cheng Zixiao all this time. Nothing the other party did could escape his eyes. There were many capable people among his brothers, and it took them a lot of effort to find out what Cheng Zixiao was up to. Tanguo didn't answer or deny it. She continued, When they take me far away, find some people to pretend to be bandits and kidnap me. When the time comes, cooperate with me and I'll jump into the sea during the conflict. Don't worry, I can swim. Yanqing, that's not a problem. I'll wait for you in the sea. That way, nothing will go wrong. I'll find someone else to pretend to be a bandit. He was a bandit. Why would he need to pretend to be one? She should know who he was, but she just had to say something like that. Fine, she can say whatever she wants. It's not a big deal anyway. System, even if it's a big deal, can you really refuse? What do you plan to do now? Yanqing asked. What I mean is, where are you going to stay for the next few days? You don't seem to have brought anything with you. Tangwa touched the jade bracelet on her wrist, but she was actually looking at Enchanting. Enchanting had already searched his body and found a bag of money. I only brought this much today. I don't usually spend money, so I'll bring more tomorrow. No, I'll ask my brothers for it later. You can use it first. Don't pawn the bracelet. It looks good on you. After some thought, Enchanting asked again, did you buy this bracelet or is it a gift? I bought it. Enchanting heaved a sigh of relief. Since you bought it yourself, just keep it. If Cheng Zixiao gives you some, pawn it early. That guy isn't worth keeping his things. Wait for me here. I'll go get the money. Don't go. I really can't go. I'll be back soon. Enchanting said as he ran. He even gave her a warning look, afraid that she would run away. Tangwa didn't leave. She waited in the alley. Not long after, Enchanting ran back, sweating profusely. She was holding many money bags in her hands. After seeing her, she rummaged through the money bags and put them into a beautiful bag. He had just bought this bag on the street. It looked good and suited her quite well. It should be enough for a few days. Enchanting handed the small bag to Tangwa. I'll bring more tomorrow. My brothers don't spend a lot of money, so they don't bring much. It doesn't add up to much. Actually, we have money. You don't have to worry, Enchanting explained. We're really not poor. We just don't like spending money recklessly. Tangwa took the small bag and said, thank you. You're welcome. This is what I should do. You've helped us a lot. Enchanting said, the things you gave me before are priceless. Of course, the reason why he wanted to help her was not because of those things. He just wanted to find an excuse to prevent her from thinking too much. He knew that she wasn't a weak woman, but he just wanted to protect her. Enchanting watched as Tangwa walked into the hotel. He finally breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't have the intention to leave. He found a place to sit down. Not long after, his brothers caught up with him. Chapter 5482. Boss, what did you do with our money? Did you fall in love with a girl? Boss, are you looking for your sister-in-law? Why don't I see her? I saw you buy a bag just now. It's obviously for a girl. Too bad I came too late. Enchanting's lackeys were surprised that Enchanting did not refute. Could it be that their boss finally decided to look for their sister-in-law? If so, it was really good news. She might not fall in love with me. She just agreed to stay on the mountain for a while. She's in some trouble now, Enchanting said. His lackeys squatted beside him and listened carefully. Boss, if she's willing to go up the mountain with you, it means there's hope. Enchanting rolled his eyes. You don't understand. This is a special situation. By the way, if she feels that the road up the mountain is difficult to walk on, how long will it take to build it? Boss, are you kidding? If we build that road, won't we lose our natural advantage? Enchanting frowned. What if her shoes are difficult to walk on and she doesn't want to go up the mountain? Think of a way. Boss, you're walking into a dead end. How heavy can a girl be? Since she's our sister-in-law, we have to carry her up. Enchanting thought for a while. Why do you have to carry her? What's wrong with carrying our sister-in-law? I feel bad. Will she think that I'm not attentive? Enchanting hesitated. She needs us to carry her. Boss, do you want to carry her yourself? Or carry her on your back? Enchanting's eyes lit up. Okay, let's do that. This way I can show her my strong body. Good job, boss. Our sister-in-law will definitely be mesmerized by your strong body. His lackeys cheered. By the way, boss, where is our sister-in-law from? Enchanting, do you know where the guys we met last time came from? She gave them to me. Enchanting was satisfied when he saw his lackey's shocked expressions. Boss, we've decided on our sister-in-law. If you can't handle her, don't come back to the mountain anymore. Seeing how excited his lackeys were, Enchanting did not hide it and told them about Tangwa's identity. She's in some trouble now. In a few days, we have to pretend to be bandits and do something for her. Only then will she come with me. Boss, we are bandits. Don't interrupt. Wait for me to speak. Enchanting interrupted his underling. She's the person the entire U City is talking about today, the second young mistress of the Chung family, the daughter of the family Tang, Tanghua. Now that she can't go back to the Chung family, she can't go back to the family Tang either. Yenqing was pleased to see that there was no disgust on his lackeys' faces. As expected, they were his lackeys. Boss, wasn't second young madam framed by Cheng Zixiao? The lackey who spoke was the one who was sent to keep an eye on Cheng Zixiao. Boss said not to interfere in Cheng Zixiao's matters. I thought you wanted to see the Cheng family get into trouble. She was the one who told me not to stop Cheng Zixiao from doing anything. The lackeys were confused, and so was Yenqing. I don't know what she wants, but I just want to bring her up the mountain. Boss, just tell us what to do. Just from the fact that sister-in-law gave us those things, it shows that she's definitely not simple. Cheng Zixiao's eyesight is not good. Yeah, he's blind, Yenqing added. Then, he told them about his plan. After everything was arranged, Yenqing's men were already guarding the hotel. When Tanghua came out in the afternoon, some people quietly walked past her and called her sister-in-law. They even said that they would protect her and told her not to worry. Looking at these people's respectful faces, she suspected that Yenqing had bewitched them. To Tanghua's surprise, the next day, Qiao Xueshi came to her place and asked to see her. Since she was here, she didn't refuse to meet her. I thought about it and felt that something was wrong. Qiao Xueshi kept staring at Tanghua's face. How could you fall for that rotten man Cheng Zifeng? Xiaogua, tell me honestly, do you know something? Chapter 5483. Know what? Tanghua asked instead of answering. Qiao Xueshi was a little anxious. She wanted to say something, but she didn't know what to say. Yes, what could Tanghua know? She knew that she was being framed, so she didn't resist? Qiao Xueshi thought that there shouldn't be such a silly person in this world. She knew that she was being framed, but she watched herself fall into such a state with no way forward and no way back. You're innocent, aren't you? You couldn't have fallen for Cheng Zifeng, Qiao Xueshi continued. You don't have to deny that. If you had fallen for Cheng Zifeng, you wouldn't have done something so unfavorable to yourself. That's not your style. She lowered her head. If it were me, I might have made a mistake in a moment of folly. But you, she raised her head again. You definitely wouldn't. Qiao Xueshi was like this because she was a little muddle-headed and foolish. Sometimes, her emotions would lead her to do things that she would later regret. Tanghua wouldn't do that because Tanghua was smart. She would never do something so unfavorable to herself. At this point, no one will believe me. Tanghua didn't refute this point. She couldn't admit that she had done such a thing. She expected Qiao Xueshi to come to her, but she didn't expect her to think it through the next day. You can explain. Look, even I believe you. As long as you explain, more people will believe you, Qiao Xueshi said anxiously. Those who know you will believe you even more. You and Zixiao have been living under the same roof for so long. I believe that as long as you explain, he will believe you. Although there were some bad things in the beginning between the two of you, you both believe in each other and will get over this hurdle. Tanghua rested her chin on her hand and looked at Qiao Xueshi's serious face calmly. Qiao Xueshi was a little angry when she saw that Qiao Xueshi wasn't moved. Are you angry? Is it because no one believed you yesterday? No. Tanghua denied. She put down her hand, sat up straight and leaned against the back of the chair. If I could explain, I would have had a chance to explain yesterday. But no one gave me the chance. Come with me to the Cheng family and tell Zixiao. Qiao Xueshi grabbed Tanghua's hand and said, Let's go. I promise you with my character and my share of the fortune. Tanghua pushed Qiao Xueshi's hand away and comforted her. He won't believe it. No matter how many times I explain, he won't believe me. How would I know if I don't try? Tanghua's gaze landed on Qiao Xueshi's face. Before you came, you must have explained it several times, right? Has he ever written a letter or wavered? Qiao Xueshi was speechless. She had already figured it out last night. She had divorced Cheng Zifeng during the day and hadn't moved out of the Cheng family yet. Cheng Zixiao said that he still needed to take inventory of the Cheng family's assets and distribute them to her when the time came. He also needed to tidy up the empty courtyard before she could move in. Therefore, she was temporarily staying with the Chung family. After figuring it out last night, she couldn't sleep. She got up and went to find Cheng Zixiao with her servant girl to analyze the matter with him. Cheng Zixiao didn't believe it and even said that Tang Guo didn't have him in her heart. After all, they weren't husband and wife yet. If she had him in her heart, why would she keep rejecting him? Xiao Shuexi's mind exploded when she heard this. In her eyes, Tang Guo was always thinking about Cheng Zixiao. She considered everything and never forgot about him when there was something good in the family. Why did Cheng Zixiao think that Tang Guo didn't have him in her heart? Chapter 5484. However, no matter how much she refuted, Cheng Zixiao stubbornly insisted on his opinion and told her not to interfere in this matter anymore. In his words, he implied that this matter was a mistake from the beginning and that he had forced her too much. Splitting up now was the best outcome for them. Xiao Shuexi was very angry. This was not a good outcome at all. She felt that Tang Guo had been framed. Now that she had left the family Tang, everyone in Yu City was talking about it. If she did not explain this matter clearly early, she would never be able to make a comeback in this life. This morning she went to see Cheng Zixiao again, but still did not get through. In the end, she could only come out to find out about Tang Guo's whereabouts. After hearing about it, she hurried over. Maybe if you explain it, he will believe you. Xiao Shuexi could feel how untrustworthy her tone was. Let's just leave it at that. Cheng Zixiao is right. This is a wrong beginning. There is no need to continue. Even if we separate, don't you plan to prove your innocence? How can I prove it? Tang Guo asked with a smile. Someone wants to destroy my innocence. They have achieved their goal. Can you guarantee that they won't come up with new tricks when I go to explain? Xiao Shuexi could not help but stomp her foot. I don't know who is so evil. If I find out, I will not let them go. My foot is about to be broken. Xiao Shuexi said in annoyance. At this point, you can really keep your composure. So what if I can't keep my composure? I have to live and start over, right? After all, I am no longer the second young mistress of the Chung family, nor am I the young lady of the family Tang. Xiao Shuexi was a little hesitant. Then she asked, your parents don't believe you either? It doesn't matter whether they believe me or not. In their eyes, I will only embarrass the family Tang. I am no longer of any use. Xiao Shuexi heard that Mr. Tang had a mistress outside and had 5 illegitimate children. Currently, he was in a big fight with Mrs. Tang. The Tang family had also become a real laughingstock. She had also heard that Mrs. Tang was eager to have children. In this way, Tang Guo seemed to be living a good life, but in reality, she was not as happy as she imagined. What do you plan to do now? We can't stay here forever. By the way, Xiao Shuexi took out something from her bag and handed it to Tang Guo. Take this. It'll last you for a while. Then I won't be polite. Tang Guo didn't refuse. If she refused, the other party would definitely not let it go. How's your divorce with Cheng Zifeng coming along? I've already written the divorce papers. Zixiao is still taking inventory of the family assets and tidying up the courtyard for me. Ask him to assign a few more people to you. Living alone, it's inevitable that some people will have other ideas. Tang Guo reminded her, filial piety is good, but don't be foolishly filial. Your parents gave birth to you, so you should repay their kindness and retire. Don't be manipulated by them. Xiao Shuexi, I know. I'm not the same person I used to be. After the incident with Cheng Zifeng, she was no longer the simple Xiao Shuexi. She would also think for herself and learn to be selfish. She was no longer a puppet who was controlled by emotions. No one could use emotions to restrain her or restrain her. You still haven't told me what you plan to do next. I'm going to rest for a few days and then look for a place to live. I'll see if there's anything I can do. After all, I have to rely on myself now. System, host, you're making it sound so nice. Xiao Shuexi believed her and even said that when she received more money, Tang Guo could ask for anything she wanted. Before she left, Xiao Shuexi said, I'll help you find the person who framed you. Tang Guo smiled as she watched Xiao Shuexi leave. Chapter 5485. Zixiao, I went to see Xiaogua. Xiao Xueshi came back and ran to Qing Zixiao's courtyard. She stopped at the entrance and raised her voice. She said that she's innocent and was framed. I hope you can believe her. The family is in a mess now and no one is speaking up for her. If you don't believe her, she must be very sad. She's homeless now and said that she's going to find something to do in a few days. She started off as the eldest miss and then became the second young mistress. Suddenly, she wants to do something outside. Can you bear to see that? She's never suffered before. It's so chaotic outside now. It's not easy for a girl like her to live a good life. Xiaogua is really not that kind of person. Zixiao, you have to believe her. No matter what, you have to talk face to face. Maybe there'll be a turn for the better. It's impossible that she doesn't have you in her heart. It's just fate that hasn't arrived yet. If she doesn't have you, why would she be so considerate of you? Take me for example. I used to like Zifeng so much. Later, he betrayed me and trampled on my feelings. I slowly stopped liking him. I used to be sad that he had a woman outside and hoped that he would turn over a new leaf. Later, I stopped liking him and didn't care about what he did outside. I'm not afraid of you holding a grudge. Instead of letting him come back to anger me, I'd rather not see him and not be troubled. He can do whatever he wants outside. As long as he doesn't come back and disturb my life, everything will be fine. Zixiao, this is the difference between liking and not liking. Xiao Xueshi's mouth was dry from talking. She was sure that he could hear her, but he didn't respond. She waited for a while, but Cheng Zixiao still didn't say anything. She could only leave in disappointment. Cheng Zixiao was indeed listening in the room. Of course, he knew better than anyone that Tangguo was innocent. Since things had already come to this point, they had to continue. He liked Xueshi, so no matter what, Tangguo had to leave. He would make it up to her. During this period of time, he didn't just take inventory of the family assets to give to Xueshi. What he gave to Xueshi was only a small part. There was no need to make such a big fuss. He would let her take away half of the family's assets. She would not have to worry about food and clothing for the rest of her life. To prevent himself from thinking too much, Qing Zixiao tossed aside all distracting thoughts and immediately got busy. A few days later, Xiao Xueshi brought a few servants and moved into another courtyard. This courtyard now belonged to her. At the same time, Qing Zixiao also cashed in a small portion of his family property and let Tangguo take it away. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed, and Qing Zixiao was finally done. Let's do it. I heard that the south is very peaceful now, so let's send her there. You are the person I trust the most. You must wait until everything is settled before coming back. Understood, second young master. The next day, Tangguo was drugged and put into the carriage again. Because they were in a hurry, they could only use the most primitive horse carriages. There was also a box inside, and the box was filled with small yellow croakers. On the way, Tangguo woke up around the same time. After waking up, she also saw Lu Shuang Luwu. Seeing her wake up, the two quickly asked her how she was. What happened? Miss, we don't know. There was a mysterious person who said that he would help you and send you to a safe place. We were imprisoned in a room before, so we had no choice but to wait. Today, we finally saw you. The mysterious person didn't seem to have any intention of hurting you. Chapter 5486. Hey, who's the master of your house? Tangguo asked pretentiously. Someone outside replied, Miss Tang, don't worry. We will send you to a safe place. Who is your master? I'm sorry, but we can't tell you. Miss Tang, just stay in the carriage. We will call you when we reach the place. Master left you some money, so you won't have to worry about food or clothing for the rest of your life. Tangguo didn't buy it. It's Qing Zixiao, isn't it? Tao Hatsai was shocked and almost fell off the horse. Fortunately, he was a man who had been through a lot. Miss Tang, don't make wild guesses. Don't deny it. I know it's him. Tangguo leaned against the carriage. He's doing so much, isn't it because he thinks that I'm occupying another person's position? He's eager to vacate that position, isn't it? I know, so I didn't struggle. Tao Hatsai didn't know what to say this time. This was completely unexpected. Tangwa knew everything, so why didn't she make a fuss? Sending me away and giving me these worldly possessions, does he feel even a little guilty? But these things can't make up for some things. There are clearly other ways to solve it. Why did he have to ruin my reputation? Tao Hatsai didn't answer because the truth was very cruel. Only the person who was favored by the second young master could receive the second young master's painstaking efforts to please her. Everything was planned for her, so that she wouldn't suffer any hardship. Only the person who was favored by the second young master could live a stable life and protect her. He couldn't bear to see her suffer even the slightest bit. Obviously, Tangwa wasn't the second young master, but Xiao Shueshi was. Even if he also thought that Tangwa was very good, the second young master didn't like her. He respected only those who the second young master liked. It's because he wants to protect someone else. He really thought of everything. Tao Hatsai didn't answer. He saw that Tangwa didn't have any intention to resist, so he ordered his men to continue on their journey. No matter how much she knew, the only thing he needed to do now was to send her to the destination the second young master arranged. It was a long journey, and she had no way to return. Furthermore, he would leave some people at that place to protect and keep an eye on her so that she wouldn't appear and affect second young master and Xiao Shueshi. Tangwa didn't say anything more. Lu Shuang and Lu Wu in the carriage were shocked. The person who framed their young miss was actually second young master? Tangwa saw that their eyes were red and tears kept falling. She comforted them, "It's just a change of place to live. It's not a big deal. In the future, I'll be free and unrestrained, with no one controlling me." Lu Shuang Lu Wu was still crying. Clearly, Miss treated second young master so well. Why would second young master treat Miss like this? Was the Cheng family really a place where ingrates were born? One was fickle in love while the other was infatuated. However, both of them were infatuated with someone else and even came to hurt their young Mississippi. Half a day's journey was extremely silent. Tao Hatsai planned to rest for a while. He even handed a glass of water to Tangwa. "Miss Tang, it's a long journey. Drink some." Tangwa looked outside and listened to the sound of horses' hooves. She took the water bag from Tao Hatsai. Just as she opened it to drink, the sound of horses' hooves came closer. Tao Hatsai himself didn't have any reaction. When the people on the horses appeared in his sight, he immediately became alert. Because these people were all wearing the same clothes. They even covered their faces, leaving only 2 places for their eyes. Not only that, these people were holding real weapons. Although he also had one in his hand, it was only one. Chapter 5487. Brothers of the Underworld, this is the Cheng family's carriage. I hope you can make it easy for us. Tao Hatsai didn't panic and quickly cupped his hands. He even had someone bring out a small box and gave it to the other party. "It's just a small token of my appreciation." These masked men were Yan Qing's underlings. They had already found out about the route Qing Zixiao had arranged, so they chose the best location to make their move. Hearing Tao Hatsai's words, these masked men were unmoved. One of the leaders said, "Qing family? What Qing family? We don't know them. You can go, but leave everything behind." Tao Hatsai's expression was ugly. This was a main road with no mountains around it. It was even close to the sea. He had never heard of this road being occupied by bandits or anything like that before. Could it be a new one? That would be bad. The things in the carriage were for Miss Tang's use in her next life. If they were stolen, it would be terrible. He wouldn't be able to explain himself. However, the other party looked aggressive and had real weapons in their hands. They were just people and didn't dare to make a move. Things have changed. Ask Miss Tang to get off the carriage. At this point, there was no way to fight head-on. They could only compromise. He knew that the second young master definitely didn't want Tangwa to lose her life. Money was just a worldly possession. Losing it wasn't a big deal, but if something happened to her, he really wouldn't be able to explain himself. Tactful. After Tangwa was asked to get off the carriage, Tao Hatsai whispered in her ear, "Miss Tang, it looks like we'll be delayed for a while. We can only go to the nearest town for now." Tangwa didn't reply. Tao Hatsai wasn't embarrassed. He had expected this. Wait. Just as the group was about to leave, the leader of the masked men appeared again. At the same time, many black pipes were pointed at them. Leave that woman behind. This beautiful woman was, of course, Tangwa. Tao Hutsai's expression was ugly. Brothers of the underworld, you're going too far. Too far? This road is mine today. If you don't want to die, hurry up and leave the 3 women behind. Tao Hutsai obviously wasn't willing. Do you know the Cheng family of Fish City? I don't care which family you are from. Just leave those 3 women behind. Tao Hutsai had already taken out his weapon, but a black pipe was directly pressed against his head. He didn't dare to move for a moment. He didn't even know when the other party's men had snuck up to him. Alarmed, he thought, offending the Cheng clan won't end well for you. That's right. How come I heard that the Cheng family of Fish City was once taught a lesson? Aren't they still obediently paying the toll now? The masked subordinate chuckled in his heart. It shouldn't be a problem for him to praise himself tactfully, right? Tao Hutsai's lungs were pierced, and he choked for a moment. Miss, I think you are very beautiful. Come back with me and be our sister-in-law. Our eldest brother is strong and is still single. You are a few years older than him, so you are a good match for him. Moreover, my boss is quite good-looking. The masked lackey was very happy. At this time, it shouldn't be a problem to promote his boss, right? If I go with you, you'll let them go? Of course, as a bandit, we have to be honest. Tao Hutsai interrupted, Miss Tang, you can't. Why can't I? He was originally going to be sent away from Fish City. Aren't we leaving Fish City now? He will never have to worry about anything. I'll go with you. Tao Hutsai had no way to stop her. He could only watch helplessly as Tangwa left. He gritted his teeth and waited for those people to put away their weapons. He turned around and jumped onto the horse. This matter still needed to be resolved by the second young master. However, before he could run 2 steps, he heard movement behind him. He subconsciously turned around and ran back to his original position. Finally, he heard Lu Shuang and Lu Wu crying loudly. She even ran to the edge of the cliff, crying as she ran. Miss jumped into the sea. Chapter 5488. Tao Hutsai's body swayed. He couldn't control himself and fell off the horse. Thinking of what he had just heard, he ignored the pain and rushed to the edge of the cliff. All he saw was the gently rolling sea. Tangwa was long gone. His face darkened. The voices of the bandits that entered his ears made him burn with anger, almost making him lose his mind. However, each of these bandits had a big weapon in their hands, which immediately extinguished the fire that had ignited within him. How unlucky! I thought she was very cooperative. I didn't expect her to be so fierce and jump off the cliff. Forget it. There are many good things in the carriage. Boss should be satisfied. Also, take these 2 maids back. Less losses. Tao Hutsai resisted the urge to take out his weapon and watched the group of people leave with hatred. He immediately asked someone to go down the cliff. Unfortunately, the sea was endless. Even if they knew how to swim, it wasn't easy to find someone. After searching for a long time, Tao Hutsai wiped the sweat off his face. He was soaked and sat on the rock, panting. His expression was full of confusion. After working for Second Master for so many years, this was the first time he had failed so thoroughly. He couldn't imagine how Second Master would react when he found out that he had lost both the girl and the money. He felt that Second Master had schemed so much not because he wanted Tangwa to die. Brother Tao, I'm afraid she's gone. I know. Tao Hutsai's throat was dry. Let's go back to receive our punishment. Tao Hutsai jumped on the horse, looked back and finally rode away. Clean clothes are ready. Go in and change. On the other side, Yen Qing brought Tangwa ashore and pointed at the carriage. He waited outside the carriage for Tangwa to go in. You said that you'll live on the mountain after you're done. Is that true? Do you think I can go anywhere else? Tangwa asked. Have you fixed the road? No. Yen Qing added, I have a way to make it easy for you to go up the mountain. In order to practice this, he often carried 50 kilograms stones up and down. In his opinion, she was less than 50 kilograms, so it was easy for him to go up and down. Tangwa changed and got out of the carriage. "Sure enough, I knew you would look good in this dress." Tangwa looks at the familiar stitches and gently raises her eyebrows. "Yun's tailor shop?" "Yeah, I accidentally saw you going in and out of that place. You probably like their clothes." Tangwa nodded gently. "I like it very much." She went back into the carriage. Her intention was clear. Yenqing grinned happily and ordered his men to change their clothes on the spot. They took off their masks and dressed as ordinary people. Then, they rode on their horses and led the carriage forward. In less than half a day, Tangwa arrived at the foot of the mountain in a carriage. Looking at the tall and steep mountain, as well as the winding road, Tangwa lowered her head and glanced at the shoes she was wearing. What Yenqing prepared was still a pair of high heels. She glanced at Yenqing. Yenqing coughed softly and threw the things in his hands to his subordinates before squatting down in front of her. "Let's go up the mountain." Yenqing's back is facing Tangwa. He was actually very nervous because he couldn't see her reaction. He added, "I'm strong and fast. It's the easiest way to go up the mountain." After saying that, Tangwa was already lying on his back. Yenqing was very happy. He carried her on his back and climbed up the mountain as if he was flying. He thought that she was indeed much lighter than the 50-kilogram stones. Chapter 5489. Boss's strength has increased. It seems that carrying rocks up and down the mountain every day really trains his strength. Boss carries someone and runs faster than us. We almost can't catch up. You don't understand. If you carry a beautiful woman on your back, and it's your wife, you'll run as fast as Boss. Lu Shuang and Lu Wu were completely dumbfounded. Who knew what they had experienced in the past half a day? First, they met Mississippi. Then, they found out that the person who framed Miss was actually Qing Zixiao. Then, they met a group of bandits. The bandits didn't ask for enough money, they wanted people. They didn't expect Miss to jump off the cliff again. Before they could react, they were captured by the bandits. They didn't even have the chance to grieve before they were taken away. They were really desperate on that part of the road. In the end, they were taken to a carriage not long after. They saw Miss appear in front of them. She was alive. It seemed that Miss was very familiar with this group of bandits. Now, they actually wanted to follow her up the mountain. If it was before, they would definitely be scared to death. But now that they saw the bandit leader carrying Miss up the mountain, they actually felt that there was nothing wrong with going up the mountain. They had served Miss for many years, but they had never seen someone who spoiled Miss so much. They used to think that Qing Zixiao was the right person. After all, Qing Zixiao would also consider some details and would give Miss all kinds of rare things. But the other party schemed and framed Mississippi. He didn't like Miss at all, so naturally, they excluded him. The bandit in front of them looked like a rascal, but he was the first person who was willing to bend down for Mississippi. It was such a steep mountain with such a difficult path. Even if he didn't carry any weight, just walking was very difficult. Yet, he was willing to carry Miss up the mountain. He had prepared a cheongsam and a pair of beautiful high-heeled shoes for the young lady. It was obvious that he had no intention of letting the young lady lie down on her own. If this person is good, so what if he's a bandit? It's better than someone who looks like a human but is actually a beast. Lu Shuang said. Lu Wu nodded. Yes, I see that Miss is very happy. Much happier than when she was in the Qing family. As long as Miss likes it, we'll just follow. Lu Shuang looked at the people behind her and whispered, and I don't see that their faces are fierce. They don't look bad. If they were bad, why didn't anyone get hurt today? It's obvious that they came here to save Mississippi, you're right. The two of them looked at each other with smiles in their eyes. At the same time, Tao Hatsai had also brought his men back to the Qing family. The group of people rode their horses back to the Qing family in a hurry. Their bodies were drenched and they looked miserable. Anyone who saw them would think that something big had happened. The moment Qing Zixiao saw Tao Hatsai, he had a bad feeling. He subconsciously looked around, but he didn't see anyone familiar. His heart almost jumped out of his chest. He controlled his tone and asked as calmly as possible, He Kai, why are you back? Second young master, I'm sorry. I'm useless. Tao Hatsai heard Qing Zixiao's words and immediately knelt on the ground. Second young master, please punish me. Qing Zixiao was still trying to control his emotions, but his nervous eyes betrayed him. What happened? Tell me first. Second young master, Miss Tang, what's wrong with her? Qing Zixiao finally couldn't control himself and rushed to Tao Hatsai. Chapter 5490. Qing Zixiao instinctively grabbed Tao Hatsai's shoulder with so much force that it hurt. Only then did he realize that Tangguo was more important to the second young master than he had imagined. Miss Tang might have already passed away. What did you say? Hatsai, you've always done things steadily and never joke around. I'll give you one more chance. Speak properly. Qing Zixiao's expression changed. You know me. I don't like to joke around. Tao Hatsai's mouth was bitter. When we passed by the main road by the sea, we met a group of bandits accompanying the real thing. First, they wanted to rob us. We couldn't fight them, so we abandoned the carriage and planned to temporarily take Miss Tang to a nearby town. Who would have thought that when the bandits saw Miss Tang's appearance, they became greedy and wanted to take her back to be their boss's wife. At the time, I wanted to fight with my life on the line. Who would have thought that Miss Tang would agree to go with them? Without waiting for Tao Hatsai to continue, Qing Zixiao asked, why didn't you stop them? I wanted to stop them, but Miss Tang said so that I couldn't. Qing Zixiao let go of Tao Hatsai and asked with furrowed brows, what did she say? She said that she was going to be sent away. Being sent to a faraway place was no different from being taken away by bandits. In the end, Tao Hatsai added, second young master, Miss Tang knew everything that you planned. You knew Miss Qiao and schemed against her and the eldest young master. You ruined her reputation and planned to send her to the south. She knew everything. So, at the time, she left without hesitation. And then? Since she was taken away by bandits, how could she have passed away? Qing Zixiao's heart relaxed a little. As long as she was alive, there was still a chance to take her back. How could he say that she had passed away? That was what I thought at the time. I planned to come back and tell second young master about it. Tao Hatsai's voice was hoarse. I didn't expect to hear Lu Shuang and Tangguo's screams just as I rode my horse. They yelled that the miss had jumped into the sea. After the incident, I brought people to search the sea for a long time, but there was no trace of Miss Tang. Miss Tang didn't know how to swim. Her chances of survival were close to zero. Tao Hatsai's words completely destroyed Qing Zixiao's hope. His mind was filled with the thought that she had jumped into the sea. His face was pale and he staggered a few steps back. His whole body swayed as he sat on the chair, his mind in a mess. He no longer had any thoughts about the perfect plan and how to make Qiao Shueshi accept him. Tao Hatsai was still kneeling on the ground. Looking at Qing Zixiao, his eyes were red and he didn't know what to say. He Kai is useless. Second young master, please punish him. Qing Zixiao stared blankly at the battered Tao Hatsai. Tao Hatsai only managed to survive after encountering so many bandits. He was extremely lucky. How could it be Tao Hatsai's fault? Even if he was the one who encountered this at that time, he still couldn't do anything. He still couldn't stop her from jumping into the sea, right? Who would have thought that she would do this without hesitation? However, the person who had facilitated all of this was actually him. Second young master, don't be too sad. Tao Hatsai felt sorry for Qing Zixiao. If he had known that Miss Tang was so important to Qing Zixiao, he would have tried to persuade him instead of doing whatever Qing Zixiao wanted him to do. The room was very quiet. Qing Zixiao didn't say anything, so he didn't dare to say anything. He didn't know what to say. Chapter 5491. Not long after, Qing Zixiao woke up with a start. He stood up and rushed outside. Take me to that place and look for her. Maybe she was washed to that shore? Qing Zixiao said stubbornly. Hurry up and look for her. Maybe we can still find her. We can't give up now. Tao Hatsai quickly got up. Although he knew that the chances were slim, he still gathered his men and followed Qing Zixiao out. He saw Qing Zixiao's red eyes and opened his mouth, but he still didn't know what to say. He knew that second young master regretted it. Maybe he regretted planning all this, or maybe he regretted sending her away. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gotten into trouble. Why didn't she resist when she knew my plan? Why didn't she point it out? Why didn't she secretly do something to protect herself? Cheng Zixiao urged the horse and asked Tao Hetsai. Despite the strong wind, Tao Hetsai still heard him clearly. However, he couldn't answer because the answer would break second young master. What else could it be? It could only be because his heart was cold. He saw with his own eyes how Miss Tang's attitude towards second young master changed. She had slowly accepted him. However, second young master's actions pushed her into the abyss. She didn't want to struggle anymore, or maybe she felt that it was meaningless. At first, it was a conspiracy to send her to the wrong bridal chamber. Second young master took the initiative to take responsibility and used the excuse that he liked her too much. When she slowly accepted this matter and felt that second young master was a good person, she suddenly realized that it was just an excuse. She was just an excuse and a tool. She should be sad when she realized that the person who said that he liked her was just using her as a shield. In fact, he liked someone else. Later, she found out that this person wanted to make room for her. He used all means and even destroyed her just to protect someone else. Not to mention a woman, even if it was a man, with other relationships, he wouldn't be able to accept such an outcome. Cheng Zixiao didn't pursue Tao Hetsai's silence. At this time, he was talking to himself. He just wanted to get to the place as soon as possible and see if she was still there. Maybe there would be a miracle? When they arrived at their destination, Cheng Zixiao seemed to have gone crazy. He jumped into the sea and searched the surrounding shore. He didn't miss a single stone. In the end, he even went to some farmers' houses to ask if there was a woman who was completely wet. Of course, the answer they received was no. After 3 days and 3 nights, Tao Hetsai couldn't help but call out to Cheng Zixiao, "Second young master, they're probably gone." They were swept away by the sea. Only then did Cheng Zixiao stop moving mechanically. His shoes were worn out and he was extremely tired. His eyes were even redder than before. For the past few days, he hadn't slept a wink and hadn't eaten much. He was basically at his limit. Hearing Tao Hetsai's reminder, his heart suddenly swelled and his eyes became moist. He looked at the boundless sea. In this vast sea, looking for someone was like fishing for a needle. He regretted it. For the first time in his life, he regretted every step of the plan. He seemed to have lost all the strength in his body. He had no choice but to squat down and stare blankly at the sea. The surface of the sea was so calm and rippled, but it was actually a man-eating beast. He was powerless and did not even have the chance to find her body. Cheng Zixiao recalled all the things that had happened in the past. Cheng Zixiao's blood rushed to his heart, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. He clutched his chest that was in unbearable pain, experiencing the most painful feeling he had ever felt since he was born. Chapter 5492. At this moment, Cheng Zixiao finally understood that sadness and reluctance were nothing compared to heartache. When Xiao Xueshi married Cheng Zifeng, he was only sad, angry, and regretful, but he didn't feel this heartache. Second young master, are you okay? Tao Hetsai was worried when he saw Cheng Zixiao vomit blood. He quickly went over to help him. Second young master, let's go back. Hetsai, I lost her. The tears in Cheng Zixiao's eyes finally fell, but he still tried his best to open his eyes and look at the sea. It was the giant beast in front of us that swallowed her. I was the one who personally sent her into the giant beast's mouth. Second young master, now that things have come to this, Hetsai, I realized it too late. I was too stupid. Cheng Zixiao grabbed Tao Hetsai's arm and said sadly, why didn't I realize it earlier? How could I send her away? Her appearance was clearly a blessing from the heavens. I destroyed her myself. Second young master, it's Hetsai's fault. If I had warned you in time, this tragedy wouldn't have happened. Tao Hetsai took the blame. Second young master, let's go back now. There are still many things to do. We can't immerse ourselves here. You know. Cheng Zixiao understood the meaning behind Tao Hetsai's words. Tao Hetsai nodded. I know you treat Miss Tang differently, but I didn't expect her to be so important to you. Second young master, you don't have to torture yourself like this. Go back and punish me, even if you want my life. If it wasn't for me, Miss Tang wouldn't have jumped into the sea. Cheng Zixiao suddenly laughed, then shook his head. I can't even realize how important she is. How would you know? Cheng Zixiao squatted down again, as if he had no intention of going back. Meanwhile, in Fish City, people were also speculating because of the Cheng family's actions. Cheng Zixiao hadn't returned for 3 days, and the 2 elders of the Cheng family couldn't help asking what was going on. Everyone who knew had left, so they couldn't ask anything and could only arrange for someone to look for him. Because there was no one guarding, the 2 elders let Cheng Zifeng out. You're willing to let me go? Cheng Zifeng was surprised. He looked around. Is Zixiao not here? He had no intention of leaving. He sat down on his seat with a swagger. Old Master Cheng didn't like Cheng Zifeng, but he didn't expect him to do anything. It was only because he had been quiet recently that he let him out. Besides, he couldn't keep him locked up forever. He finally understood that the more Cheng Zifeng locked him up, the more he would hate him. It would be better to just let him out. Things had already come to this point, so if he liked that girl named Xie Yuan, then so be it. According to his experience, this kind of love would eventually be defeated by life. When Cheng Zifeng suffered, he would understand that the so-called free feelings were useless. You can go wherever you want. Old Master Cheng said, as long as you don't smoke, you won't be lacking in food and clothing. In the future, you can be the young master of the Cheng family and be with whoever you like. But don't bring it in. Cheng Zifeng was a little surprised. He didn't understand how the 2 of them had figured it out. At this moment, the people that the 2 of them had sent out finally returned with news. Master, madam, we've found second young master's whereabouts. Old Master Cheng said, where is he? He hasn't come back for days. Doesn't he care about the Cheng family? Is this how he manages the Cheng family when it's in his hands? Second young master's condition isn't very good. He's already on his way back. Old Master Cheng was a little worried now. He was mainly worried that if something happened to Cheng Zixiao, no one would be able to manage the Cheng family. What happened to him? Chapter 5493. Doctor, how is he? Old Master Cheng asked worriedly. Cheng Zixiao's appearance when he was carried back really gave him a fright. Now that Cheng Zifeng was unable to support the Cheng family, even though Cheng Zixiao's previous behavior was a little bad, it was undeniable that he was indeed more suitable to inherit the family. It was also Cheng Zifeng's behavior that disappointed him too much. He knew that the family definitely had no future in the hands of the other party, so he placed his hopes on Cheng Zixiao. The doctor comforted him. Second young master is fine. As long as he eats well and rests more, he will be fine after a while. This is caused by lack of sleep, lack of food in time, and extreme sadness. The 2 elders of the Cheng family looked at each other. Extreme sadness? What was it that made Cheng Zixiao so sad that he couldn't eat or sleep peacefully? Why did he have to go outside to suffer from the cold and hunger? The person who came back to report the news didn't know what happened to Cheng Zixiao. The only ones who knew the details were the group of people that Cheng Zixiao brought out. Go and call Tao He over. After a while, Tao He came. He knew that there was no way to hide the matter, but he definitely couldn't tell the truth. On the way, he had already planned what to say. Miss Tang met bandits on the way and jumped into the sea. When second young master heard about this, he immediately went to look for her, but in the end, he couldn't find her. When old Master Cheng heard this, he suddenly understood. In his impression, Cheng Zixiao was still infatuated with Tang Gua and even caused trouble at the wedding ceremony. Madame Cheng was a little confused. Could it be that Cheng Zixiao cooperated with Zifeng and helped Zifeng and Xueshi be together to satisfy his selfish desires? In fact, he had already taken a fancy to Tang Gua, but he didn't expect that a forced melon wouldn't be sweet at all. Tang Gua's heart still couldn't tolerate him. In Madame Cheng's opinion, Cheng Zixiao was such a scheming person. Otherwise, such a big Cheng family wouldn't be controlled by him. No wonder she was wondering how Cheng Zixiao could come up with such a plan. In the past, she thought that he was taking advantage of Zifeng, but it turned out that it was for his own convenience. But so what if she understood? If Zifeng couldn't be helped, she couldn't do anything unless Zifeng could have a child. Unfortunately, even such an obedient and well-behaved daughter-in-law like Xueshi was gone because of Dui Phone. Could she still accept the child of Zifeng and that vixen outside? Has anyone from the family Tang arranged for someone to look for her? Old Master Cheng asked. Tao Hatsai smiled bitterly. Miss Tang left the family the day she came home. Since then, no one in the family tried to find out her whereabouts. There were a lot of things going on in the family these days. Ever since old Master Tang's 5 illegitimate children were exposed, there was no peace every day. Maybe they don't even know about Miss Tang's accident. These words left old Master Cheng a little speechless. If she had known this would happen, why would she still be so obsessed with Zifeng? Since she's married to Zixiao, then she should live a good life with him. How could the second young mistress of the Cheng family wrong her? Tao Hatsai opened his mouth and wanted to defend himself, but if he said that, wouldn't he be smearing second young master's reputation? In the end, he could only remain silent. He looked at Cheng Zixiao, who was still in a deep sleep, and silently lowered his head. Old Master Cheng sighed. Take good care of Zixiao. Let me know when he wakes up. This was the only son who could support the Cheng family. Where's Zifeng? Old Master Cheng asked the other servants. Chapter 5494. Before that person could say anything, Cheng Zifeng walked in. Dad, you're looking for me? I heard that Miss Tang jumped into the sea and we haven't found her yet. What happened? She met bandits, Tao Hatsai added. Miss Tang couldn't stand the humiliation and jumped into the sea. He thought that this was the best explanation. It had to be said that second young master really killed someone. She was innocent. Cheng Zifeng couldn't believe it. How is that possible? When she was scolded by the entire U City, she didn't do anything stupid. Why did she jump into the sea after being caught by bandits? Isn't this a bit out of her style? After all, she was willing to betray her morals to be with him. This was what Cheng Zifeng couldn't figure out. If she was caught by bandits and waited for someone to save her, she still had a chance to live. He thought that she wasn't someone who cared about her reputation. Get out. Don't you think it's embarrassing enough to stay here? Old Master Cheng couldn't stand Cheng Zifeng's indifferent attitude and kicked him out with his walking stick. Not long after, the entire U City knew that Tangua had been stopped by bandits and jumped into the sea. No one knew exactly what had happened. But many people still couldn't believe that she didn't want to be a bandit and jumped into the sea. After all, in their opinion, she could still live after what happened before and wasn't afraid of people pointing fingers at her. Why did she suddenly jump into the sea when she met bandits? If it weren't for what she did before, they would think that she was a chaste woman. How could Xiao Xueshi not know about such a big thing? She ran into the Cheng family house, panting, and rushed to Cheng Zixiao's place. When she reached the gate, she hesitated and called out as she walked. As expected, she attracted Tao Hatsai. When she saw Tao Hatsai, she shouted, "Take me to see Cheng Zixiao." I told him she was innocent, but he didn't believe me. Now that she's gone, he's sad again. Tao Hatsai couldn't say anything. Wasn't that right? Second young master was asking for it. Cheng Zixiao had already woken up. When he heard Xiao Xueshi shouting loudly as she entered the room, he sat on the chair with a coat draped over his shoulders. He did not even turn his head. Cheng Zixiao. Xiao Xueshi shouted again, "Are you satisfied now?" Cheng Zixiao slowly turned his head and looked at Xiao Xueshi who was standing in front of him. He didn't know why, but he no longer felt the rush of excitement he had when he first met her. He didn't even know when his love for Xiao Xueshi had started to fade. Why didn't they discover it? It was because he believed in himself too much and was too stubborn about certain things. It should be said that he always wanted to take back the things that Cheng Zifeng had taken away. His love for her was actually just the first time he met her. Later on, it was more because he felt that the person he liked the most had been snatched away by Cheng Zifeng, so he couldn't accept that he didn't get her. He obviously treated her as the best, but Cheng Zifeng didn't cherish her. Naturally, he wanted to change everything. He only saw what was in front of him and did not see that there was a better person beside him. Ignoring this person was the best gift that God had given him. You really can't find her? When Xiao Xueshi saw the thin and pale Cheng Zixiao, she understood that he was probably feeling terrible. Her tone lowered. Why don't we get someone to look for her again? What if she's still alive? She's so smart. I don't believe that she really jumped into the sea. Chapter 5495. It's true. Based on my understanding of her, if she wanted to escape, she would never take the water route. Instead, she would first pretend to be a snake with the bandits, then slowly find an opportunity to escape, or use some excuse to delay them and wait for someone to rescue her. She would never commit suicide for the sake of her so-called reputation. Cheng Zixiao didn't say anything, because from Tao Hutsai's explanation, he could tell that Tangguo really didn't jump into the sea for her so-called reputation. Her heart was cold, and she didn't want to live at all. She couldn't return to the Cheng family, was abandoned by her family, and was schemed against by him. She didn't want to stay in this world anymore. Cheng Zixiao's eyes reddened again. He closed his eyes, and his body trembled slightly. Tao Hutsai couldn't stand it anymore, and explained to Xiao Xueshi, Miss Xiao, we've been searching for 3 days and 3 nights, and we've searched everywhere we could find. If there's nothing nearby, then it can only mean that Miss Tang has stayed there forever. Xiao Xueshi covered her mouth, and tears fell uncontrollably. Why did that happen? I still don't understand. Why didn't she want to live? She's so smart. If she wanted to live, she would definitely live. Tao Hutsai's mouth was bitter. He couldn't explain. That matter, he would just treat it as a secret. I'm leaving. Xiao Xueshi saw that she couldn't get anything out of him, so she could only turn and leave. She felt that Tao Hutsai was hiding something. What was it that he didn't want to reveal? Did this have anything to do with Tangguo's death? She hadn't even helped Tangguo find out who killed her, but the other party was gone. No, she couldn't feel at ease like this. At least she had to find a way to prove Tangguo's innocence. Now that the people of Fish City were talking about it, it really made her uncomfortable. Seeing that Xiao Xueshi was about to walk out of the door of the small courtyard, she suddenly stopped. Her eyes moved, and the tip of her foot turned, and she walked back in the direction she came from. This time, she walked silently, not making a single sound. Since Tao Hutsai couldn't say anything, it wouldn't be easy for her to find out from other aspects. She might as well take this opportunity to secretly eavesdrop. Maybe she could find something? No one would have thought that she, Xiao Xueshi, would eavesdrop, right? She was familiar with every corner of the Qing family. After all, she used to be the gardener for the Qing family. It was easy for her to find an excellent spot to eavesdrop. Not long after, Xiao Xueshi felt her way under the window. Coincidentally, there was a pile of grass blocking the outside, and the window was slightly open. She squatted down below, and could clearly hear the movements in the house. Second young master, the Cheng family still needs you to take charge of the situation. Don't blame yourself too much. You can't find Miss Tang, but you still have Miss Xiao. Have you forgotten that you did all this to bring Miss Xiao back to your side to protect her? Tao Hutsai comforted. He didn't know that Cheng Zixiao no longer liked Xiao Xueshi. He only thought that Cheng Zixiao was sad because of Tangguo's departure. Cheng Zixiao liked both Tangguo and Xiao Xueshi. He Kai, I'm not in the mood to do anything else. Second young master, have you given up on Miss Xiao? Tao he was shocked. Just because of Miss Tang's death? No. Then why? Tao he Kai asked in his heart. He had been by second young master's side for many years, and all these years, he knew how much second young master liked Miss Xiao. If he gave up so easily because of Miss Tang, he would find it hard to accept. I suddenly realized that I didn't like Xiao Xueshi for a long time. After Cheng Zixiao said this, he suddenly sobbed. Why didn't I realize earlier? You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.